Well, hello, everybody, and welcome on in. We are living well, the ultimate health journey with I, myself, Andrew Conway, Jovi Marie, Dr. Phillip Zinni, and Alice Boswell behind the scenes. So, today we have a great talk for you guys today, and we will be discussing hypertension. So, get your pens and paper ready, get your questions ready because it is about to go down, learning all things hypertension. So, with that being said, Dr. Philippini, please take it away.
Thank you, Angel. So I thought what I'd do is start off with kind of like a real high level overview about some basic facts. And I think this is important because people may not understand um, not only a little bit about it, but more importantly, how prevalent or common. So the first thing is prevalence. Prevalence just means in our society, how many people have it, if you will. And it's about 50%, 50. So that equates to approximately 115 million people, so nearly half the adult population. And then, even more surprising is the awareness. The awareness is not as high as you would expect it to be. It's only about 60%. So that means out of that 115, maybe only 70 million know about it. It increases a little bit as we get older. But unfortunately, when you get older, that means about the sixth or seventh decade of life, it's kind of late to try to turn things around. So that's why awareness is really important. And then control, this is really shocking. Out of that, only about 27% um, think that or have actual control. Control by mainstream medicine is defined as a blood pressure of 130 or lower over 80. 130 is the upper number or what's called the systolic, and then 80 is the lower number or the diastolic. And then when it comes to age and gender, it's about 55% men and about 40% women. And then around ethnic groups, it's usually more African Americans that have a higher predominance of high blood pressure. A lot of that is felt to be more cultural. So we'll get into that. And then finally, the trend is not good. Ever since they started looking at blood pressure back in 1993, by decades, the trend is that the average blood pressure has somewhat increased. So we may be a little bit more aware of it. However, we're not tackling it well. We're not treating it well. And more importantly, um, people just aren't taking it serious enough. So, the first thing to talk about is treatment. And when you think about treatment for high blood pressure or hypertension, the classic is diet, right? Foods. What do you eat? Remember, I talked about for African Americans, it's usually cultural because there's usually a higher salt content. It's usually more foods that are fried. So, as a result, salt in general, specifically sodium, or the good old fashioned salt that's on a table, that will have a tendency to increase your blood pressure. Whereas the natural salt, which is usually potassium based, that you find in vegetables predominantly, that actually is protective. So the first treatment, high level treatment, is lifestyle, foods, and getting onto a healthier diet. And then the second aspect of that is exercise or aerobic exercise. In other words, something that's going to get your heart rate up so that this way when you get through with the exercise, your blood pressure naturally drops. It increases while you exercise, and that's a normal response. But then there's this reflex or kind of a rebound, if you will, lowering. And that lowering will last for several hours throughout the day. So that's why exercise is so important for one of the mainstays of exercise and lowering blood pressure and how it kind of all ties together. There are some supplements that we can talk about later on, but the last thing I want to tie in to high blood pressure, hypertension, because this is heading into Valentine's Day and everyone thinks about Valentine's Day and heart health. The other comorbidities that go along with high blood pressure and heart health in general is diabetes. People that have diabetes have a 50% increased risk for heart disease or heart attacks. And then the other comorbidity with that is something called metabolic syndrome, which means being overweight or possibly even obese. So those things all tied together in, if you can imagine, along with maybe not so good of a diet, is high cholesterol or hyperlipidemia. So that's kind of the home run, if you will, of all the bad things. It's beyond the trifecta, it's the home run of all the bad things that are linked together that can gang up on your heart and cause problems. So, with that high level overview, I'll pause for a second and see if there's already a question. Very good.
Yeah, so Brian asks, what are the normal, elevated, and high blood pressure ranges? Good question, Brian.
Yeah, that is a question. So, there's phases or steps. 120 over 80 is considered kind of average. Some people will say that phase one high blood pressure is something just above that. Others will use 130 over 80. Then the next phase is 140 over 90. However, I really try to gear people towards the 120 over 80. You'll find some research that'll say, well, as you get older, the blood vessels just kind of get a little bit stiffer anyway. So as a result, your blood pressure is naturally going to creep up. But that's not really what's happening. What's happening is that we're just leading unhealthier lives. So mainstream medicine said, big deal, it's going to happen. But that's not really the way we should live. We should live proactively, preventively, proactively. So I'm always striving for 120 over 80.
I like what you
Mhm.
said, preventively, proactively.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
key.
exactly, exactly. And you have to think that way because unfortunately mainstream medicine is more reactive and as a result, you're kind of trying to patch things together or maybe throw a pill at it. And by throwing a pill at it, you're, quote, managing it. And what that means is that, yeah, you're driving the numbers into a normal range, but you're not healing anything. You're not curing anything. It doesn't make a difference whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. You're throwing a pill at it, you're managing it, getting it into that range, but you're not really curing anything. And we want to get to the root cause and cure things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Great question, Stephen. What are the common symptoms of high blood pressure? None. And that's the key point, is that high blood pressure isn't usually manifested until A, it's too late, like you had a heart attack, or B, you're starting to see end organ changes. In other words, your vision's off, or your primary care looks at the back of your eyes and sees that the blood vessels are affected, or your ophthalmologist or optometrist is looking at the back of your eyes and seeing that the blood vessels are changing, or someone happens to do a blood test and you notice that your kidney function is off. So those are kind of the end results, which are too late. Sometimes, not often, sometimes people can have headaches, or they may feel a little bit off, like their balance may be off or something like that. But unfortunately, it's called the silent killer for a good reason, because the body is very well adapt at trying to keep the blood pressure regulated in those end organs, in the eyes, in the kidneys, in the brain, until it's too late. So that's why it's always good to have your blood pressure checked at least once a year. If you're at risk, again, high cholesterol, diabetes, overweight, probably 2 or 3 times a year.
That's true. So David has a question, Dr. Phillip. So how does age affect the risk of developing hypertension?
So sadly, there used to be a age-related risk. In other words, the older you got, the stiffer the blood vessels became. So your blood pressure would naturally go up as you got older. However, because there's this burgeoning increase in weight in younger people, we're seeing high blood pressure in teenagers, which is crazy. But we're seeing it. So it's not so much age as it really is lifestyle. When you have a poor lifestyle, then your blood pressure is going to be affected. And it really doesn't make a difference what age it is anymore. People need to be checked on a regular basis.
So we have a question from Alice. She says, how does obesity contribute to high blood pressure? Very good question, Alice.
So, unfortunately, people think that adipose tissue, the big fancy word for fat, is inert. In other words, it just hangs out and doesn't do anything. However, fat tissue, adipose tissue, is not inert. It has a vascular supply, which means that there's blood vessels going through all tissue. If you have more adipose tissue, that means you're going to have more blood vessels going to it. So think about it like a garden hose. If you had a garden hose that is 3 feet long, the pressure at both ends are going to be pretty much the same. The pressure that is near the faucet or the spigot is going to be pretty close to the pressure at the end of 3 feet. Now, if that garden hose is 100 feet or 1,000 feet long, think about it. The pressure at the other end is going to be much diminished. Or what happens, and this is what the heart does reflexively, the heart increases the pressure at the spigot. So the heart squeezes harder, pushes the blood out harder and a little bit faster. And as a result, that raises the pressure. And that's why you see high blood pressure, because now you have to get the same amount of pressure through all this extra blood vessels in this inert, what people think is inert, fat tissue, which isn't really inert. So what we try to do is get people to reduce weight, reduce fat. That means you're reducing the amount of blood vessel length so that the blood pressure can naturally reduce. The standard is about 1 point of reduction in blood pressure to every 10 pounds of adipose tissue. So it can make a big difference. William, does smoking impact blood pressure? It does, because specifically if you're smoking tobacco, or even if you're vaping nicotine, because it's the nicotine. Nicotine is what's called a vasoconstrictor. So it tells the blood vessels to constrict or to kind of tighten up. By tightening up, that increases the blood pressure because you're having a hard time driving blood through that smaller vessel. That's why some of the blood pressure medicines are to dilate the blood vessel. In other words, open it back up to lower the pressure, which is what your body naturally does reflexively after you exercise. It naturally dilates the blood vessels to lower your blood pressure. So that's why it doesn't make a difference whether you're smoking cigarettes, cigars, vaping nicotine. It's generally not good for you. Or even chewing. Individuals that'll chew, that also has nicotine in it. So in general, not good for you.
Wow. So, Dr. Phillip, we also have Sherry that's asking what medications are commonly used to treat hypertension?
So it depends on the maybe cause of the blood pressure is. Um, Most commonly, it's what's called an ACE inhibitor. So that's all the prills. So lisinopril, accupril, enalapril, those ones. If the blood pressure is because of salt in the diet, then it's usually a diuretic like hydrochlorothiazide or chlorothalidone or something like that. If the blood pressure is because the heart rate is too fast, then it's a beta blocker like labetalol or propranolol or metoprolol, one of the alls, OLs at the end of it. However, they all have side effects, which is not good. So if you can, again, do things naturally through lifestyle change, what you eat, how you exercise, maybe some supplements, then you can do better without having to take a pill because the pill isn't going to cure anything. Supplements can, the diet, lifestyle, exercise, that can.
Mhm.
So again, we're looking for the root cause and trying to enact a cure as opposed to just putting a big band-aid on something and not really curing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, going with exercise, Brian's asking what type of exercises are best for managing hypertension, Dr. Phillip?
Yeah, so there's an acronym called HIT, HIIT, and it stands for um, high impact interval training, or something that kind of gets your heart rate up, um, so that high impact is something to try to accelerate your heart rate, whether that be through riding a bike or running or jogging or even weights, but something that can accelerate your heart rate. Doesn't necessarily need to be impact, but anything that can increase the intensity. So some people also call it high intensity interval training. Anything that can increase the intensity, and then you follow that by a short period, or depending on how you're starting off, with an alternative period where your heart rate rests a little bit. So there's a high interval, then a relatively interval of a lower heart rate, and then that can be vice versa. As you get more trained, then your high interval may be longer, and your relatively lower interval intensity may be shorter. But in the beginning, usually it's about 10 to 15 seconds of high interval, and then anywhere from 1 to 2 or 3 minutes of a lower interval. But that type of high intensity interval training will help out with getting your heart rate up. Also, that'll boost your metabolism. So, this way, throughout the rest of your day, your metabolism is raised and that good lowering of your blood pressure carries out through the day, which is the second part of exercise. If you can, try to get your exercise in the morning. This way, it carries out through the whole day.
Absolutely. Those are some amazing questions, Dr. Phillip. So, I know that you wanted to go over a couple of the vitamins that the supplements that you recommend, especially for our audience. What are a
Yeah,
few that would be more for the hypertension?
yeah. So, berberine is one, alpha lipoic acid is another one, nattokinase is another one. Um, those are specific for blood pressure, if you will. Then there are some that help out with inflammation in general. So mangosteen is one to help the cell work better. And our producer is getting ahead of the game there. She's so excited. And we'll show a short video about that in the end. And then, if you think about it, besides reducing inflammation through those things, you have to kind of address if there's maybe a diabetic component, and then there's cinnamon that helps out with that, um, or curcumin, turmeric that can help out with inflammation. So there's a whole variety of supplements that can help out. But we like to look at the core, and that's kind of what Alice was showing. There's a mangosteen mist product called Xanthomist. There's a glutathione mist product, which is called Glutamist. That's kind of our foundational core. And then if you're already taking a foundational one a day, we've got a good supplement for that called the Ultimate Vitamin. So that's kind of the core, if you will. And there's the whole combination of the foundation, with the fourth one being one to help boost the immune system, especially if someone has metabolic syndrome. So cholesterol issues, weight issues, diabetic issues, along with the diet, high blood pressure or the hypertension. Yeah.
This has been great, Dr. Phillip. I wanted to see if you could touch on a little bit of the cultural aspect you mentioned earlier. I know you did touch on it a little bit, but if you could touch on it a little bit more, since you mentioned African Americans seem to be predominantly the group with higher blood pressure.
Yeah. So culturally, um, if you go to the southeast, so Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, um, a lot of foods are fried. There's a lot of salt in the diet. There's a lot of sugar in the diet. Um, Sweet tea, I think, has something like 23 teaspoons of sugar in it, which is a lot of sugar. Um, so, unfortunately, those foods have a tendency to be not only higher in fat, but higher in salt, higher in sugar. That all leads to weight gain, and then weight gain leads to hypertension. So, Jovi has a great cookbook that can give you alternatives to getting that same kind of texture. So whether it's quote air frying things or maybe baking things, but there's a lot of different ways that you can cook foods, prepare foods that are going to be healthier for you. Now on the flip side of that, culturally speaking, on the flip side of that, there is a group of people around the Mediterranean that have a high level of cholesterol that's higher than normal, but they also have a good cholesterol elevation, HDL, the good one. So they seem to have a protective component. So culture can swing both ways. It can be bad or good. So that's why when people talk about a disease being hereditary, I don't really think it's hereditary. I think it's more cultural. It's how you're raised. You know, if you're raised in a meat and potato family, then you're going to have certain problems. If you're raised vegetarian,
Right.
you're going to be a little bit better. If you're raised on a Mediterranean diet, you might be a little bit better. So I don't think it's so much hereditary. I think it's cultural, and cultural can swing both ways, and it can be changed. I mean, I've seen it in my career. Bethany, does stress? Yes. Great question. Stress has a lot to do with high blood pressure. So, and we really didn't even talk about that. Depending on your background, stress can be relieved through meditation, through faith based reduction, prayer, counseling, reading the Bible, reading whatever you want that can kind of put you in a happy place or a happier place. Um, Having a good foundation, a sounding board, someone you can talk to, can help out with stress. There are some natural things you can do, like chamomile tea, lavender, that help out with reducing stress. But unfortunately, stress can be not so good on blood pressure. Yes, absolutely, Sherry. Yeah, high blood pressure can cause a stroke. So that's why in the medical surroundings, if we see someone that has a blood pressure of 180 over 100, 110 consistently, we try to pharmaceutically drive that pressure down. It's not the best thing, and it's only temporary. But yes, stroke can lead to that. And there are some very famous people like President FDR that had a stroke because he had unmanaged high blood pressure.
Oh, wow. So you mentioned, 180 over what did you say?
100, 110. Yeah.
So on the lower end, what's a blood pressure that's like, go to the doctor now?
So usually when your blood pressure is so low, you definitely you'll feel lightheaded or you'll just pass out. So um, typically that's like a systolic of 80 or 90. Um, because again, think about it. Blood pressure means that you're pushing blood away from your heart up, and the most important structure going up is your brain.
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
there's not enough blood pressure getting up to your brain,
Oh, yeah, you're gonna
it
feel it.
just kind of checks out, and then you fall over, and then the blood pressure is even.
Yes. So, like, I know whenever I've gone to the doctor, I've always been on the low end. So, what would you say about people that, you know, check their blood pressure and they're just like, I'm running like 109, over 70 consistently. Is that good? Is that bad?
That's good. Again, as long as you've got enough blood pressure to get to your brain, you're okay. And technically, the relatively lower, or if you keep your blood pressure low, you keep your heart rate low, then you're less at risk for a stroke, you're less at risk for a heart attack. And then Brian said, can high blood pressure be reversed? Absolutely, it can be. There's very rare causes of blood pressure that can't be reduced, that may have to be surgically corrected because there's blood flow issues to the kidney, which affects some hormones. Um, but usually, blood pressure can be reversed. It's pretty rare where it cannot be.
Right.
Just like Yeah, just like we mentioned, Brian, it's too low when you're not getting enough blood flow to your brain and you pass out. That's when it's too low. And quite frankly, I've seen patients that we've worked on all the good stuff. We've worked on diet, we've worked on exercise, we've worked on supplements, and their primary care physicians don't want to reduce the medicine. So they naturally reduce it themselves because their blood pressure is getting so low, they're getting kind of dizzy. And then finally, when they go to their primary care for a checkup and they look at the blood pressure and say, "Oh, you're doing great. Medicine must be working." And then the patient says, "Well, no, I haven't been on my medicine in about 3 months." It's all this natural stuff that you never talked about, but
Right.
I
Right.
don't.
Well, thank you so very much. This has been an amazing discussion on hypertension and blood pressure. Thank you all for the engagement. Thank you all for the questions. Keep them coming in. We will do our best to continue to answer them. We're going to wrap up with any final thoughts. Um, I just want to share that I know firsthand about some of the uh, blood pressure reducing methods I have personally implemented. Decompression through deep breathing and listening to music definitely is something that helps me, especially like when I'm in transition, going to work or coming back from work. So I just, encourage all of you to find out, what works for you and to, work on that and do that on a consistent basis and see how that works for you and, keep trying new things. Yeah. You have the power to help yourself be better, feel better. So, Jovi, any last final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I do recommend that as well. Go for walks. Those are the main things. Like, if you know that something's not right with your body, you know, get the medical help, and ask questions. Ask many questions as you can, so at least you can get some feedback. So Dr. Phillip helps us out in so many different ways. And just going with those questions that you do ask, especially with this platform that we're in right now, ask those questions. If you're questioning something that's not right, bring those questions along and go for that walk. Do the HIIT workouts like Dr. Phillip says. Those are the main keys. Anything else you want to add, Dr. Phillip?
So there was one last question. Darlene asked us to go over the supplements again. So berberine, nattokinase, alpha-lipoic acid, hawthorn berry, glutathione in the form of glutamist, and mangosteen in the form of xanthomist. But the bottom line is most people, I would probably say a significant majority of people, have the power in their own hands to control their health, to control your destiny. You have the power. You were created in the image of God, and God doesn't create bad things. So you have the power to change it. We're here to help you help yourself. God bless you and be well.
Awesome. Well, tune in next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for Living Well, the Ultimate Health Journey. Until then, be well. Take care.
Thank you.
Welcome to the future of vitality and anti-aging. Our revolutionary products in our Vital for Life pack will support your journey toward optimal health, beauty, and longevity. Let's dive into these groundbreaking discoveries reinventing the health and wellness industry. As you twist and mist delicious glutamist onto the soft tissue of your mouth, you'll love how the nanobubbles enter your body and are delivered in as little as 4 seconds with almost nothing to swallow. Glutamist is an advanced, highly absorbable mist combining nano-sized, pharmaceutical, medical-grade glutathione in our proprietary cellular nutrition blend. This blend of 60 essential ingredients supports detoxification, slows aging, increases energy, and improves regeneration. Modern science confirms that glutathione depletes regularly. Our bodies naturally produce less glutathione as we age, along with factors such as oxidative stressors like stress, poor diet, smoking, pollution, and infections. Our 10x Pure proprietary process enhances the bioavailability of glutathione, optimizing up to 99% absorption and magnifying its benefits. The master antioxidant glutathione supports cellular energy production, healthy aging, muscle and joint health, inflammation health, optimal immune function, natural detoxification, quality sleep, mental focus, and beautiful skin. It is also perfect for athletic performance and the rigors of an active, age-defying lifestyle. CTFO's Performance Mist category is bolstered with the addition of Xantho Mist, which delivers powerful mangosteen-derived xanthones directly into the body. Using our 10x Pure proprietary encapsulated nano-emulsion technology, Xantho Mist bypasses the degradation of gastrointestinal gut enzymes, ensuring higher potency and bioavailability of its active ingredients. Oxidant-rich Xantho Mist supports overall health and well-being, cardiovascular health, a healthy inflammatory response, immune system support, blood sugar balance, and brain function. And we don't stop there. CTFO's 10x Pure Ultimate Multivitamin and Mineral Supplement is a patented breakthrough in the nutrition industry. Enhanced with our 10x Pure delivery technology, it ensures optimal absorption of vital nutrients, supporting cardiovascular health, cognitive function, bone and vascular health, and more. Most vitamins on the market end up in the toilet. Ensuring proper absorption is a crucial key to reaping their health benefits, which CTFO's 10x Pure technology delivers. This innovative supplement combines 23 exceptional ingredients, including amino acids, chelated minerals, biologically active folate, vitamin K2, and vitamin B12. It's the ultimate cost-effective solution, delivering remarkable results for those seeking optimal health and vitality. Finally, meet Super 7, a delicious blend of the world's 7 major superfruits in a delicious, easy-to-assimilate, natural energy-boosting immune support chewable tablet. It delivers vitamins, antioxidants, enzymes, and much more in a daily family favorite ritual. At CTFO, we're committed to changing the future outcome of health and wellness, to advancing truly groundbreaking innovations that help transform how you live, feel, look, and age at the core of our Vital for Life pack. Revolutionize your health with Glutamist, Xantho Mist, 10x Pure Ultimate, and Super 7 nutritional supplements. Experience the best health technology ever to be introduced with Vital for Life. Take the first step towards a healthier, happier life today. Visit our website and order your Vital for Life pack now. Our commitment to excellence extends beyond quality products. It's about ensuring your satisfaction every step of the way. With our 60-day empty bottle guarantee, you can try our products worry-free, knowing that if our product doesn't meet your expectations, you're 100% covered. We'll even refund your shipping. Experience the difference with CTFO's advanced, high-speed nutrition technology and redefine your future. Healthy cells, happy life. Welcome to CTFO.